Peace. This is Brother Job from Mr. G's Hard Truth Show, and also sponsored by T.R.O.P Worldwide and part of the Empowerment Show. Today's guest is a brother from the West Coast. If you be kind enough to share your name and where you're from.
Hey, what's going on to the good peoples out there? My name is Troy. I'm from Los Angeles, California, 36 years of age. And, just
All
happy to
right,
here to be
so
here to talk to you guys.
this edition is two sides of the street. So we just want to talk about your upbringing, some of the things you may have went through, and where you're at today.
Okay, for sure. All right, this how my upbringing was. My upbringing was not rough or anything. I wasn't in like a two-parent household or not, but I was still in a family that have, a lot of love in it. So I was around a lot of love, whether it's from my mother, my, uncles, aunties, even my father. So growing up, I can say growing up, my mother, she was like heavy on the gang, gang things, right? The gang activities that happens in Los Angeles. Cause in the 90s, around that time, that's when stuff was real ill out here. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
around that time, I couldn't even wear chucks. My mother wouldn't let me wear no chucks, either grow my hair out. You see, I'm older now, got my stuff growing and all that. And I couldn't buy any cap guns off the ice cream truck. You feel me? Because this around the time policemen was killing little unarmed kids and getting away with it. So my mom was kind of big on the gang activities, but then her siblings, they was part of the gang, the gang world. So my mom was kind of squarish, and my
Yes.
pops on my pop side of the family, my pop side of the family is like a working class family. So every time I go on that side with my dad's side, I just know I get everything that I want, you know what I'm saying? And something, some things I had to earn, dealing with him and my grandpa. So I learned about, earning money and stuff. It wasn't just about, giving here and there. So even to this day, them skills, them backyard skills and skills that my grandpa and father gave me, you know what I'm saying? I get money off of that until, to this day. That's just like a form of income. But so
Okay, so you
I
learned
could
to
say,
trade early.
yeah.
What
And
kind of trade did you learn? In case people on the West Coast, need some of your assistance. You can promote yourself as well, my brother. That's what we
oh
do
man,
here at 10.
to keep it real, this is like sort of out the blue, but I can tell you that I stand by Trop 100%. You know what I'm saying? I'm for the rebuilding of people. So if
Yes,
you here trying to rebuild yourself, you know what I'm saying? I'm here for you. Don't matter who you is. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard trying to be sane to especially today. Especially today.
yes.
It's keeping your mind sane. It's a tough job. So, but other than that, like I said, I just be here, be available. See, I met Jimmy. Jimmy met me through work. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's how I ended up meeting with Jimmy through work, and then he liked my work ethic, so he kind of brought me under his wing. And that's just how things work, actually. Because a lot of us, what they call YNs, the elders feel like we can't be here or can't be taught nothing, so they kind of don't mess with us. But that's a myth. If they see you doing what you're supposed to do or looking like you doing something, then they go drop the jewels on you. So I'm also here to kind of close that gap, because it ain't no difference between us elders and the YNs. You feel me? So that's another
Yes,
thing I want to enlighten, because really, if you under an elder, you'll get a lot of jewels to survive today. you know, the
absolutely.
saying,
I agree.
nothing is
And
nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun, like the book says. So, you know,
by any chance, did you happen to get involved in any of that gang activity that was
oh yeah,
flourishing in the streets?
of course. I did actually involve, like, around middle school. I was staying. Me and my mother, we moved to the jungles, and
Okay.
I know everybody familiar with the jungle area. That's a pure Damu area.
Yes.
For people who don't understand, is bloods, a blood
Uh huh.
territory. So I was around middle school going to Autobahn around that time, because my mother, she was working at Kaiser's. That's kind of in the area as well. So we ended up moving into our own spot out there. So I had to actually be out there and for like 3 years, from basically sixth grade to eight. So, my mother wasn't, involved in the bouncing schools and stuff. So I had to really had to sit there, what I'm saying, and get it together. But in elementary, I went to 74th Street Elementary School, which is kind of a total different area and background. So when I moved to the jungles, I had to learn everything new. And plus, like
Yeah.
my family background, they always been Crips. That's all I knew at the time before I knew about numbers, what Crip is what.
Hmm.
I just knew it was Crip or blood. So I heard my
Yes.
family talk about Cuz. So eventually I started talking about Cuz. And
Gotcha.
eventually I didn't know about the things that come with it. So I learned through school and things, saying certain things and actually get into fights with people. So that actually kind of influenced it as
Yeah.
well. And then plus staying in the jungle area as well. Like, even though we all was friends in the jungles, I still have friends over there to this day. But the way my heart was, and I know where my family background for it, I just knew I wasn't gonna be over there too long. And I started getting
Gotcha.
into altercations like my 8th grade year, my last year of middle school. I was getting into altercations with the people in the area. They basically was trying to you know how it go when they be trying to court you on. Either they go court you on or put the pressure on you until you either get court on or until you get up out of there. And me, I wasn't, that wasn't my area to anyway. So I kind of was glad that I was out of there anyway. I just had to thug it out within my grade periods of school. And
Gotcha.
then so after that, that's kind of when I was that's where the gang stuff actually was in middle school where you actually see it. You would think like we still teenagers and stuff. But when I was in the 9th grade, I remember one time I was in the 9th grade and one of the key students, a basketball player at Audubon, didn't make it back that following week. So he basically got killed. And over a fight that he had with some elders in high school. And I guess he whooped them and then they ended up shooting him and killing him. And that was the story at one of the stories at our middle school. So that's when right then and there I was like, damn, young people was getting capped like this. So my mind just started, start thinking like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Once you break out that elementary, that kid life stuff, and you get into middle school, you still kind of a kid, but then it's like, okay, you seeing these type of activities, and then you got bullies after school that used to pick on people. Then you be like, okay, I see what type of time it is.
Yes.
So basically, from middle school on up, that's when the gang I started, you know, progressing in like in the gang life. Like it wasn't like I was just heavy into it, like oh serious. It got to a serious point. See, through high school and middle school. Well, through high school, when I went to high school, that's when it started advancing. But then I ended up moving to Inglewood, California, which
Hmm.
is kind of like the same area which I just left, but it's another Damu city. But
Yeah.
my pops and grandpa and them, they stayed in Inglewood. And the only reason why I went to Inglewood because I stayed in the neighborhood I stayed in at the time, which was the 40s. And those are the dudes I ended up running around with. So it was like if I would have went to Manuel's Art with the 40s, then I would have been, I'd have been, in trouble with them, running around with
Yeah.
them. So what ended up happening, I ended up telling my mom, well, like, could I go to my dad's house could I see if I could go to my dad's house so I wouldn't be in that type of environment because I just knew me because I was already hanging out. We was already hanging out doing stuff together. Like once you start getting like, you know, hanging out and stuff and let me tell you, like with this gang stuff, a lot of us do be friends. We all come from the same schools. Like if you go to high school or middle school, you go see the same people. So even with these gangs, right? It's the
Yeah.
same people. It's the same people. Excuse me. So
So,
it's like
so
so when
even
you yeah, so and these they the same people in these areas. So even when you get older, you still end up running into them like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember you, depending on the type of story. Like around that time, we used to go to the malls and stuff. We used to go to the malls and hop on the bus. It wasn't really trains like that. So we was busing, going to the MTA to the malls. And around them time in the 90s, late 90s and early 2000s, that's where the gangs were still like active, where you can go any bus stop, every bus stop, your bus stop, it was like a group of people from that area. And somebody will get touched, you know what I'm saying, on his way,
yeah.
going to where he gotta go. So like, like going through things like that. And then so after a while, as I got in high school, I started like I said, I was in another Damu school, another blood school. I started linking up with other people that was somewhat similar like me that had like a blue background, and then we just started forming cliques, which lasted, and then you know once that's once that started, and then after that, after high school, then you already know it progressed to the real thing.
Gotcha. So, at what point did you decide to make some changes with your life? Like that you seen that your life was going down the wrong direction and something needed to be done to prevent you from going through some of the trauma and ills that happen when you live that street life.
Okay, for sure. I can tell you. All right, I joined the gang when I actually got out of high school, right? Because my family, one thing they did press me, it was to finish school. If they didn't press me to do nothing else, it was finish school. And by this time, my last year, I was out hanging out still. I was hanging out, coming in whenever I want to. I kind of was raising myself. So, but I did graduate. I did graduate. And let me for the record, I always been a genius. Let me say I always been smart.
Okay.
It just as I got older, my grades were starting to slip, and I just started, when it's crunch time, I got it like that. When it's crunch time at the end of the semesters, then I used to pick it up around there. But at first, before I got into the street shit, I used to stay on top of it. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
always been smart, always liked the art, always liked the music, and all that stuff. So, but in '07 is where I graduated high school, and that following year, that's when I got put on my gang that I got introduced to, which is 40th Street Avalon, right?
Okay.
Now, I wasn't raised over there in the area, so they kind of adopted me. I'm like what they call it, a day two. I'm like a day
Yeah.
two. Like I said, but I came from the 40th area, like the 40s area. We still in the same area, it's just that I'm on the east side, basically on the other side of the freeway, the 110. But
Gotcha.
like when we left the area, because I was about to get put on where I was at. I was about to get put on 40s, but we ended up moving. And then when we ended up moving, we ended up bouncing around in different locations. So, and around the time we started bouncing from different locations, that's when I started being with in party cliques. When you're in a party clique, that means now you start going from here to there. And it don't matter where neighborhood you go, you just going to go function. So I was caught up in, the party cliques around the jerking ages when they was jerking and getting hypey and all that.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All
that's
right.
how, yeah. So that's how I ended up mingling with the other gang members because all my families, they from neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? And I'm
Okay.
like one of the only ones who ventured off myself and got my own name and my own fame and joint, a whole opposite thing, which is gangsters. Gangsters and neighborhoods don't get along. So my family kind of was looking at me like, man, where they do that at? So
I get it.
after a while, at first I kept it silent for a minute, but my brothers and homies kept coming to the house talking about hood politics, which my people started getting the wind of it, and then I got arrested, and that's when they was like, "Oh yeah, he from over there." And then after that, my family they wasn't treating me different, but they was kind of saying little shit, da 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 da. But so after going through my wilderness in the hood, you know what I'm saying? It was about a good, like I said, good seven, like a good 7 year run, because in 2014, one of my closest friends that I brother that I didn't met within the hood that we became family, he ended up passing away. So and that was in 2014. So we had, all of us had big dreams together. Like all of us, it's like in there, it seemed like it's bad that we're part of a group, but how since I'm grown now and I look at it, it's like we all had our own personal traumas that we was dealing with within a home or within life, and we all just hung around each other, kind of to be
Yeah.
free, I guess. What I'm saying? That's what I'm looking at now. Like we all was trauma bonded, saying young men together, just hanging with each other, causing damage to everybody else. So we was on some. I would say now I say some emotional stuff, but
Gotcha. Look, I got one
after a
question for
while,
you.
yes, sir.
Yes. No, no, no. Go ahead and finish saying what you was gonna say. Then I have the one
Okay,
question. Yeah.
okay. So after 2014, that's when I started, disassociating myself with falling back, because now I got, you got when you got people who feel like they above you, like authority figures trying to tell you what to do and all that stuff or how you should handle business and this and that. Then you be like, oh wait, hold on, you ain't even my family, you ain't my people's like that. So power thirsty people, you got them power thirsty people and all
Yeah,
that. So me going through my, emotional thing with my bro leaving, and then I got all this. I just said, forget everything all at once. And so I just left. Cause like I said, we had dreams together as far as, especially with music. I know all of us have music. That's like everybody dream right now, especially young males in Los Angeles. So,
yeah,
and we was getting it going, like really doing it. Everybody was feeling us and everything. So that was like our big dream together. But once, like I said, when my brother died, and he was kind of like one of them. You know how you got that one person that just in the group that just shine, just period. He was
yeah.
already there. He was younger than me, but he was like older than me as far as the street shit. So
Gotcha.
and yeah, so he was like the glue to all of us YNs that was there. So when they took him out, it kind of like they took us YN hearts out and the LGs too. So
Took a big piece of
after
y'all
that,
away.
yeah, so I start backing up. But see, around that time, I ain't gonna lie, I start seeing the homies mess around with the crystal. So like I said, there's a
Mm,
lot of things that went on during, through the game banging things. But when I start falling back is when I start seeing the homies mess with them drugs hard. Like, and once I seen that, then I was like, okay, let me fall back before I be a victim too. And it just went downhill for everybody to me after that.
gotcha. Look, I'm gonna leave room for part two, which we're gonna hit on another day. So I got one question to ask you before we head out of here on
Yes,
this
sir.
episode, and that question is: if you had an opportunity to share with the youth at this point in time, to prevent them from going down the same path, what would it be? What would be the information that you would give them?
As of right now, I would tell them to find out what they're very passionate about and focus on that. And it will bring them money. It will bring them wealth. It will bring them everything they need if they focus on their passion and not let nobody or any situations distract them from it. Just really have that Kobe Bryant Mamba spirit, that focus. Stay focused on your goals. That's basically it is. Focus, you know,
Great.
and block everybody out. Like everybody needs to be blocked out.
Look, thank you for showing up on the show. This is Mr. G's Hard Truth, the Two Sides of the Street edition. I appreciate you, my brother.
And I
And
appreciate
I'm
you,
glad
man.
that you're a part of Trop, the rebuilding the people. And on the
Yes, sir.
next episode, we're going to talk about some shadow work. I believe you wanted to talk about some shadow work and working
Oh
on
yeah, for
self.
sure. Yeah, for
All
sure.
right, so we're going to get into that because the brother got some knowledge, man. We appreciate you, and you have a good one, brother.
Yes, sir. Likewise.
Peace.